That your life began change when you read book Secret and you don't like this book.
It started like that, yes.
Yes.
And that's true.
It's funny story really, because you don't like this book, but this book changed your life.
Yeah, it was because I was new to self-development and mindset and how you actually can control your life. If you can control your thoughts, you can control your life. And when I started to read The Secret, I thought it was just full of, sorry, bullshit, but if I say that. But I didn't have so much choice, so I started to read the book to disprove it. All these techniques and all the ways they say that you should do, I said, okay, I'm gonna start doing them to show them that it doesn't work. And then when I started to implement those ideas and I started to practice them and train, I actually started to get same results as they were writing about, right?
Yes.
But many people have to understand as well that The Secret didn't change my life. That was just a little part of it that, you know, opens the door to many other things. Because The Secret is many things in the book that is missing. Especially action. Most people think that you can just sit and visualize or meditate that something good's gonna happen and then it comes, but it doesn't work that way. You need to have massive action with any goal or any success you wanna achieve. So and after that, many other books I started to read, and since then I never stopped, and I'm still learning. So
can you talk a little bit about your story, how you began asleep on a beach and how you began to read this book and how you changed your life? I know the story, but not all people know, and it's interesting when it's told to you. When we don't, it's read when we listen it.
sure.
Thank you.
No problem, I understand. Well, I was grown up in Sweden, and I didn't have a very easy life there, to be honest, and I never liked Sweden at all. And I just wanted to disappear. I wanted to go to another country and start a new life somewhere. And my grandfather died, and I have two sisters, one brother, and we all got $2,000 each inheritance when he passed away. I don't come from a rich family, so that's all we got when he passed away. Yeah?
It was big money for you?
Well, at that time, $2,000, I mean, it was big money for me that time because I was only 21. And my father was it was really important for him that I could save it for some education or save it in the bank and all that. But I went to a travel agent and I told them, where can I go with this money? And they started to show me pictures of Thailand and Phuket, and I fell in love with it. But I could only afford a one-way ticket. I couldn't afford a two-way back. So I just packed my bags, and within 3 days, actually, I left here, and I wanted to start a new life. But it wasn't so easy when I came here. I didn't know the language. I didn't know anyone who was here. I didn't know where to start. But I started to ask for jobs everywhere, restaurants, hotels.
What was your first work?
My first work was for a hotel that I got, and that was to give out brochures on the streets.
It's very interesting work.
Yes.
It's very perspective.
Very perspective, yeah. So
everyday contacts with people.
every day. And imagine in this heat, walking around with this 35, 40 degrees heat every day, trying to give people brochures. And if the customer took the brochure inside the hotel, they would pay me a little bit of money. So my first job, I was making in dollars, maybe $150 a month, something like that. So that was the first job I got in Thailand, yeah.
And what was, why you changed the situation? And how you changed the situation?
Well, when I was working and had that first job, I had this mindset that life just happens to you and you're not in control of it. So why even bother try doing anything, because life is just gonna happen to you and you can never control it, right? So I with the small money I was making, the $150 a month, I was spending on parties and going out, and I was always out just partying. Yes, with all these kind of people that had the same mindset, right? So then after 4 months, I hadn't paid the rent of my little room because I spent it on parties and stuff at that young age. And after 4 months, some police officers came to the room, and they said, the landlord has called and you haven't paid your rent for 4 months, so we are here to throw you out. And that was the day I actually became homeless. So I didn't know what to do. So I packed all my bags as quick as I could, and I went to Kata Beach, about 200 meters from where I lived. And I was just sitting there and thinking to myself, what should I do now? And I was too proud. I couldn't call my parents or sisters or someone and ask them for help, because everyone was against me leaving Sweden. Everyone said, you're crazy, you should never go to Thailand, and it's not a good idea. So of course I didn't want to call them and tell them, sorry, but I failed very hard. You need to help me from here.
You ask about money?
No, I couldn't, because I didn't want to ask money from any of my family members. But I came to think about a colleague of mine named Max that I know from my previous job in Sweden. And I called him and I said, hi Max, I'm in a very bad situation, and I'm now on the beach, homeless, I don't have money, and I don't know what to do. Can you please help me and send something to me at least so I can move into a new room or get a shower or something like that? And he said, well, sorry Andres, I can't help you with anything, but I will send you a book. Maybe that will help. But when he said that,
good friend,
I was even more angry. Why should I do with a book? I need money. Why are you sending me a book here on the beach? But I took the chance, so I printed out the book. I went to an internet shop, and it cost about 20 baht to print all the pages. And then when I sat on the beach, I was like, okay, well, instead of sitting here and thinking about how sorry I am for myself and what a failure I am and feeling sorry for everything, and also blaming everyone. I was blaming my job, my parents, my friend. It was everyone else's fault, but it was not my fault that I was in this situation.
It was zero
from everything. And I said, okay, well, I start to read this book. At least I can focus my mind on something else instead of just sitting here and feeling sorry for myself every day. So I started to read the book. And when I started to read that first book, I was just thinking, this is a lot of, I didn't believe in any of that. So I said, okay, well, I'll try the exercises, because this book, they always tell you that you have to visualize things that you want to have in life. You have to believe that you can get them. And you also have to take action, of course, every time. So I thought, okay, instead of thinking of getting a Ferrari or getting a new house or something like that, because I think that's the biggest problems that most people do in life. When they have goals, they always think about that major goals from the start, you know, having $1 million, having that brand new car, or having that beautiful house. But if you start thinking like that, your subconscious mind, it will tell you, sorry, but you cannot have that. So it's very, very important for anyone to start with small goals, because when you start with small goals, at least you know you're moving forward, and then you start to believe in the bigger goals. So when I was on the beach, I remember I was thinking about, okay, I'll try this exercise. I'm gonna visualize a cup of coffee.
I know about you because Joe Vitale told this story about cup of coffee.
Okay.
It was first time when I listened to your name. And he said, I have one man which live in Thailand, and maybe you think that a cup of coffee does not matter, but it really can change your life. It was first time when he said about you.
Yes, because my book also, the first page starts with, it all started with a cup of coffee. So it's one of the first pages. But I started to visualize that. I was seeing that coffee cup and feeling the heat in my hands and fingers. I can visualize the smell and all this. And then I didn't think about it. And 2 days passed, and one of these jet ski guys who rents out jet skis and parasailing and water activities, he came up to me because I was sleeping under this palm tree with my bags, right? And I said, well, I've seen you here a few days, and I felt a little bit sorry for you, so I just bought you a coffee.
She just asked
from nowhere. He came and gave me a coffee, and then it was like, no, that's just a coincidence. It did not. I had nothing to do with it. It was just pure luck. But okay, then I'll try it one more time. And I started to visualize getting a lunch, because at that time I could barely eat. I was eating a bowl of noodles every day. That was my budget that I could have. And I started to visualize a good lunch. I remember like yesterday, it was a chicken steak with salad and French fries. I really wanted to have that. And I started to visualize that and think about that. And 3 days passed by. I was walking on the beach road, and I met an old colleague of mine that worked at the same hotel when I arrived in Thailand. And I said, oh Andres, is that you? I haven't seen you for a very long time, so let me buy you a lunch so we can talk a little bit. And that was the second part, and I was like, wow, am I really into something, or is it just another coincidence? And that's how I really started to understand how powerful the human mind is, and that you actually can create anything you want with the help of your mind and the emotions that you have in your body, right? And from that day on, I studied it, practiced it, and it never stopped. And the third visualization was, okay, well, if it works with a cup of coffee, if it works with a lunch, maybe it works with something else. So I started to visualize a job. I started to visualize myself being in an office, having colleagues, having a nice suit. I started to think about all these things, right? So I took action. I started to ask every single office around Phuket for job. And the first job in real estate I got, it was similar to the first one. And I had to stand outside the real estate office and give out brochures as well.
Brochures
again. Exactly.
Again, brochures.
But for this time, it was for a real estate company. And if they went in there, they could get a property tour. And if they bought a property, I would get a commission, right? But okay, at least I got that job. And then I started to see the sales agents working in that company, and they looked so happy. They had these nice cars, they had these suits. So they became my role models, and I said, I want to be exactly like them. So I started to copy everything they do. And 6 months later passed on, and I got a British guy who came to the office and say, hi, I would like to buy a property in Thailand, but I'm leaving tomorrow, so can I go and see some properties today? So I took him into the sales office, and I asked my manager, well, Peter here, he wants to buy a property, can he go with an agent? And my manager said, no, all agents are busy today, they're with customers, so there is nothing we can do. And I was like, well, this guy, he's leaving tomorrow. So I came up with an idea. I had this very old motorbike that sounded like it was 50 years old, but that was my transportation, right? So I told this English guy, well, sorry, Peter, there is no one that can help you today, but if you want, I can take you on my motorbike and show you 2 properties that I know about. And believe it or not, he bought one of the properties. So when I came back to the office, I came with a reservation contract to my manager and said, he bought a property with me. And my manager looked at me and like, you're the first one ever who sold a property on a motorbike. So after that, he said, maybe I'll give you a chance. So then he promoted me to sales agent. And then when I became a sales agent, I started to look up to my sales manager, because of course sales managers make more money than a normal sales agent. So I started to learn everything from him. I started to copy him. And what I mean copy is that the quickest way to success is to always find someone who already has what you want, because they already found the way how to get it, right? So if you learn and study those people, if how they talk, how they walk, what they think, what their hobbies are, and you just implement it by yourself, you're also gonna start getting the same results. So another 6 months passed by, and I became the best-selling sales agent in that real estate company, and they promoted me to sales manager. And then I thought, what's the next step? Okay, next step was sales director for the whole company. And it took another year, and I actually got that job as sales director for there. And after that final job at that company, I said, well, what's next step? What can I do now after being sales director? Well, I'll open my own company, and I took that chance. And from that day on, it has been growing and growing for the last 12 years. So
but, I know that you lost your self company.
yes.
It was a new problem, new situation, and you began again?
When I opened my first company, it went good for about 1 year, but then I went bankrupt because I started to use the money in the wrong way. I started to spend in big offices, a lot of computers and big spaces to impress the customers, right? But then I understand, but if you don't have customers, then it doesn't matter how beautiful the office is. So I had to close down, and then I started to think myself, how did all this happen? How could I go from there to crash so hard again? And I realized that I have stopped doing these exercises that made me successful: visualization, meditation, goal setting, affirmations, incantations. All of these things is what I do that helps me get what I put my mind to, right? So when I became bankrupt that time, I had to take a new job in another real estate company. I knew I could sell, so I got a job as a sales agent again, and then I started to sell a lot of properties. And when I had enough money, I opened the company again. And then I understood what I did wrong the first time. So, and it's in any company, it doesn't matter what kind of business you have, but marketing, it's the most important thing that you should start with. Because if you don't have marketing, you don't have customers. If you don't have customers, you don't have sales. And if you don't have sales, you don't have income. And if you don't have income, you don't have anything at all, right? Yes. So I started to, the money I save, I started to spend it in marketing and putting offices in shopping centers. And from that day on, it went very well, and the company started to grow. And I met a lot of new property investors, and they believed in me, and they said, well, why don't you do your own project? We will help you with the funding to your first project. And that's how I became a property developer, yes.
Now this story about coffee, about beach, about visualization, your lunch, it's funny story. But I understand that when you really feel that you're very poor, it was, maybe you're afraid? It was afraid.
When I was homeless, you mean, or?
Yes.
Yes, of course. I was terrified.
But it's difficult to begin make something when you feel this afraid.
Of course, because fear is what stops you from getting anything you want in life. Everyone is always afraid of what other people will think, or they're afraid to fail, or they're also afraid to be successful. So yes, it is hard to change when you have this fearness in your body, right? But that's why I started with small things, like a cup of coffee, to see if it works. And when you get small little evidences, then you, of course, you start to believe it more. And from that time, then you can change it around. So yeah.
Now, have you some plan for your whole life? Maybe you have visualization your life when you will be 88 years old. Or it's not important? think about future?
The most important is that I can make sure that my daughter and the people that I care about most have the best possible life they can have. So that's one of my biggest goals. And then I have a lot of other goals, but I wanna, when I'm 88, I wanna sit on, before you pass away or before you die, I wanna remember all the great things I did in life, and I don't wanna be there regretting that you didn't do certain things, right? So yeah, I think it's important to remember memories and create memories, because I don't believe too much that when you are that old and you're about to die, I don't think you care or think too much about the house you had, the money you had, and all this thing. I don't think that's too important when your time is coming. I think, well, I'm pretty sure you want to remember all the great things you saw in life, because materialistic things actually, in the end, when we pass away, they don't mean anything. So
yes, many people have dreams start millionaire or start billionaire, and they dream about that, and they have some ideas that when you start millionaire, you never work. Is it true?
No, completely different. You work even more. It depends on one job, but it depends how you mean by work. But the more success you have, or the more whatever, if you're millionaire or billionaire or whatever, of course it's not physical job, but it's mental job. So it's always 24/7. You're always thinking about jobs. So, and sometimes mental thinking, it's much more tiring than physical activities, right? So no, I don't agree. You work very hard almost every day, especially up here, because you always have to plan your day or the next day, and you have to think about all the different employees and departments and all this that you have. So no, of course you have to work hard to get success. There is no shortcuts. I'm sorry to say that. Many people think that there are shortcuts to success, but they're not. You have to work hard, and you have to work very hard and never give up, and find if sooner or later you will reach your goal. It's like a boat. If you don't have a engine, the boat will drift away. But if you have a destination and a goal, then it doesn't matter how it goes, but you will always reach that point. You just have to find the point that you wanna reach, of course.
I have questions from my followers, and Vika helped me. Вопрос про экономию. Очень многие говорили, что мужья все время предлагают экономить. Вот как он относится к этой идее с целью обогащения? Можно ли обогатиться экономия?
There are many families where husband they usually say for women not to spend a lot of money. What do you think about this? Is this the way that you can save money? Is it a good way to become rich?
To spend or to save?
No, to save. Not to spend a lot of money.
To save.
Yeah.
Every wealth, every success is it's money management and savings. That's very important, because if you have one person making $1 million a month, but he doesn't save anything, but you have one person who makes $10,000 a month, but he saves 10% of that, he's going to be richer than the person who made $1 million a month in the long run. So savings is one of the most important factors. And when you do save, it's of course important to invest it in the right things and have patience. Most people don't have patience because they think that richdom or wealth, you can do shortcuts, but if you save and put them in the right investments, that will help you a lot in the future as well. So saving, yes, it's very important that you have a strategy, yes.
But if you have a strategy, if you don't have,
then you have to find one, and you have to read about it. So whatever you want to be good at, you have to study it. If you want to have success, study successful people. If you want to study how to save money and how to make financial planning, then read about that and learn that, of course. Everything that you want in life, you have to be good at it and learn it. That's very important with anything you do. So
I remember this day when you understood that you are millionaires. I remember.
I remember it like yesterday, yes. But yeah, it was an amazing feeling, but I already seen that feeling inside of me. As you know, you have to believe that you already have it before you have it. That's the key to attracting things in life, right? You start with a thought becomes an emotion, and an emotion becomes an attraction. So it's actually our emotions that are magnetic. It's not your brain waves. So if you can connect these two, then that's where the magic happens. But yes, the first million I had a 1,000 baht note that I learned from the secret, and I put it on my ceiling. But I put a few zeros behind the 1,000, right? So every morning when I woke up, the first thing I saw was that million, and when the last second before I fell asleep in the night, I saw that 1 million, and after 4 months, I sold a really big penthouse luxury apartment, and the commission was exactly 1,140,000. And that I knew that it was because of that, and I knew that I have created that moment. So yes, that was a very special moment, of course. It's always hard to reach that first million. That's one of the hardest parts to do. It's like a tree that's trying to grow, right? But as soon as you come over that step, it becomes easier.
What is your favorite success rules?
My favorite success rules. Oh, there are many success rules that you should follow.
We have time.
First of all, any rule to any success, find what makes you happy, find what you want to do in life, because a lot of people are working with things that they don't even like doing, and I don't think that you can get success with that. You need the passion, you need the drive, you need that energy. That's what makes you go up in the morning and be motivated to reach that, right? So you need to find yourself the right question. And many people that do interview me, or when I hold seminars, they ask me the same question, and I then ask them back, well, what makes you happy? That's the first thing that you need to find out. Some people like to make paintings, that makes them happy. Some people like to play football, that makes them happy. Everyone has different things. So I believe doing what you really love, if you do that, success will follow automatically. So that's one of the key elements. And then persistence. Never give up. Every time you start your success path, you're always gonna hit big walls, like big stones on the way. You always have big problems coming there. And most people, when they hit a wall, they give up. But they don't understand that you can still climb over a wall, you can dig under a wall, you can go left from a wall. You just need to find a way around it. So actually, when you hit a wall or hit a problem, it's only there to help you. It's only there to make you stronger, to harden you, and to teach you something. And that's what most people don't understand.
Yes.
So problems are good if you see it in a different way.
Do you feel your mission in the world?
If I fail,
Mission, yeah. What you came for here. I mean, what you have to do in your life, what you will bring to people, maybe some information, like a mission.
That's a beautiful question, because no one has asked me that before. But yes, I do believe that I have a mission, and I do believe that I was born to help people become better people, if you know what I mean, because I really love it. And when I can see, I have 300 employees working for my companies, and when I see the first day they started to work for me, they don't have anything, but then they stay with me a few years, they get a better life, they get enough money to buy their first house or car or something, and I see their life improves. That makes me really, really happy. And the passion is to, I think that's the most beautiful thing you can do in life, is to help other people become successful and happy, right?
Yes.
And if you do that with as many people as possible, that's how you want to pass away and remember that you actually changed a lot of people's life into something better.
Yes.
that's the person I want people to remember me as, not as the guy who had the billions and had the boats and have the cars. That's not the person I want them to remember me as when I don't exist here anymore. I want to be remembered as someone who actually helped thousands of people to improve their life.
Who is your teacher now? Who is your coach now?
I have many, it depends how you say with coach or mentor. I mean, Joe Vitale was one of them I always looked up to a lot. I read all his books. Jack Canfield was a person, I met him last year also, that has been a big influence to me. And mentors, you don't need to meet them physically, but you can study through their books and all this. But I have many different people that I look up to that have helped me a lot during the way, especially with their books, because I love reading books about self-development. So I would say Joe Vitale, Napoleon Hill, and Jack Canfield is 3 people that I actually studied the most and implemented their teachings. Yeah.
Are you prefer a book or seminars?
Both. It's important to do seminars also, because it gives you another kind of energy, and you're together with hundreds of people in the same room. That gets that beautiful, powerful energy in the whole room, and that's a special feeling when you can create that with people. Yeah.
You say it such poet. Как это
Like a
сказать?
poet.
Yes, poet.
When you became a millionaire, and when was the time you were dreaming only about being rich? Was the feeling the same when you became a millionaire?
Before I was a millionaire.
Yes.
Well, yes and no. Before I was a millionaire, I was on a mission because I knew I wanted to be a millionaire. So I had that goal, and I was working towards that goal every single day. But after you reach the 1 million, then the money is not the most important thing anymore, because when you already have it, then you need to continue finding new goals. Because if you only focus on the money all the time, it can be also dangerous, because then you start to fear to lose it, and then you change the vibrations in your body, and that can make you lose everything again. So for when you come up to a certain level, you actually don't think about the incomes anymore. You just think about the things that makes you happy. So.
Thank you. Спроси, я вспомнила вопрос, как поменялось отношение к ошибкам, вот когда он был бедный и когда он стал успешный?
What have changed about your feelings about mistakes? When you were poor, how did you feel about mistakes? And now when you're rich, is there any difference about that when you fail? Have your feeling changed about this?
Well, I've been on 2 sides of the war. I've been very poor, and I've been also the opposite now, right?
Well,
But mistakes are good. It depends. Everyone thinks that mistakes are bad, but you have to do mistakes to learn, to learn things. And the more mistakes you do, the more you learn. But if you do the same mistake again, then that's not very, very smart, right? So at least if you learn the mistake, you know that you shouldn't do that thing again. But mistakes are there to teach you something. I think every problem, any mistakes you do, they are there. They're a way to success. You don't get success if you don't do mistakes and you don't have problems. That's the whole way of actually achieving anything. They have to be there.
Tell me please about your book. I know that Joe Vitale say you must write book, or it was another story.
Well, I've been reading a lot of books, especially Joe Vitale and Jack Canfield and all that. And when I finished The Secret and I started to climb up in life, and I really knew, when I finally understood that The Secret, if you use it the right way, there is actually, you are a magnetic person, you have energy, you can attract whatever you want if you use it in the right way. And when I finished the book, Joe Vitale, he was the person in the book that I felt more connected with. So when I closed the book, finally that time I said, one day I'm gonna meet Joe Vitale and I'm gonna thank him for what he done with me, right? So I wrote an email to Joe Vitale. Hi, Joe Vitale. I love your work and I love your books. I would really love you to come to Thailand and hold a seminar for my staff and friends in Thailand. And it was just like a big shot in the blue. But within a week, he actually replied, or his agent replied, and he said, yes, he can do for this and this price. And of course, it was a lot of money, but I knew that I really need to meet this person. So when he came to Thailand, I picked him up at the airport, and he started to ask me about my life. And I told him my life, what happened here. And he got amazed and interested. And then he said, you should write a book. I said, well, I never thought of it. How can I write a book? You just, he said, I will help you. You just write down everything you want on a piece of paper and send it to me, and I can help you put it together and all that. So I didn't think more of that. But then when we had the seminar, he said, please, before you go out on stage, then before you present me that I'm coming, of course I was the presenter. And he said, you should tell your story on stage. And I said, no, I can't do that because when you have thousands of people there, you haven't practiced.
Yes.
You don't know, and you're really nervous, and your heart is clapping. Even today, after I've done many seminars, I'm still nervous before I go out in front of. But if you change nervousness to excitement, it's actually the same feeling. But you just have to change the way you feel in that moment. But what he did is that he changed the slide on the back, Joe Vitale. So when I went out on stage, he had put a picture on that big screen, and under that it stood, this is a preview of my upcoming book. And I didn't know he'd done that. So when I stood there and I looked at it, and it's like, now I have to do it. But I'm so happy that he did it. So I started to write the book, and it took me 13 months to finish. But it was one of the hardest projects I've done. It's not easy to write a book because sometimes it's very hard to come up with the content and remember things like 10 years back, 20 years back. But after 13 months of hard work, the book was finished. So
it's cool.
Well, I'm happy with it, what it came out of it. So
This book only in English?
For the moment, it's only in English, but it's being translated into South Korean, Hindu, also Vietnamese, and also Spanish. But for the moment, and the Thai and English book is already out, but the other ones are being translated, but they will be released next year.
I congratulate.
Thank you.
It's really it's another success.
Well, yeah. I mean, the book is to make people understand. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if your skin is black or white or yellow, or if you have rich parents or poor parents, or nothing of that matters. So all that matters is how you think and how you control your own thinking. Because your mind can be your best friend, but can also be your worst enemy if you don't know how to control it. So yeah, that's one of the most important factors to do so.
What you can recommend for men which can't make some good present for their wife because they now are poor, but they won't change the situation? Women all time want something, and they ask about that. I want this dress, I want this shoes, I want this bag. It's
They're unstoppable.
Yes. What you can recommend? What you say it maybe when you have not money, but you want make good present. Stop. You don't want this, or you said something another.
Well, everyone wants something, right? Everyone have different things. You always want to buy new things and stuff, but you have to start writing them down. And many people, when you ask them what do you want, or what do you want in life, or what do you want to buy, they always say, well, it's up here. But when people say that, I know that they're not gonna get it. It's very, very important to use paper and pen and to write down the things you want. Because if you keep seeing them every day, you see them from another perspective. If you have them in your mind, they're everywhere and you forget about it and all that. But if you write them down on a paper, you see it from another angle, and then you tell your brain that this is what you have to work for, right? And your subconscious mind will start to attract those things.
But I ask about relationship.
Yes.
When you woman want something but you can't buy this now, what you ask? What you say?
You mean if the man cannot buy the thing for the woman?
Yes.
Find another man.
Oh, we like you.
Very short.
No, I'm joking.
No.
Well, it depends what they want. So, I mean, if they can't buy it, they can't buy it. So, a woman also, if the woman only thinks that the man should be there just to buy things, then I don't think it's a good woman either, right? So, but
it's conflict inside family. I know many men said, "Stop it! You don't need it." Is it normally or not? Or women must speak with their man and ask something and say something for a more rich future?
Well, you mean like if the woman asks the man to get something?
Yes.
Well, I think if the woman really wants it for a purpose, and they really want to have it because of a certain reason, and you can see that it's important for her to have it, so yes, of course, a man should make her woman happy and try to get that for her. But also many women just want to have a lot of things and then they use it one time and then they never use it again, so maybe that's not the right way to go. So it all depends on the man. But I don't think you should just buy everything that they ask you to buy, because then I don't think it's the right relationship if they think that they're just there to buy you things, right? And it needs to be special occasions or special moments or things like that, of course. So.
One more question. Is it possible relationship when she is poor, he is millionaire?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. All that matters is what you have here and what you have here. If you have a good heart and you have a good mind, then the money shouldn't be the thing that stops you from being with someone, right? And you can still help another person. If the man is rich or the woman is rich and one of them is poor, the person that had success can still teach her partner how to think and how to become better, right? Yes. And support each other. So, of course, any relationship can work.
But when a woman is poor, she can't introduce with rich men. She have not money for some place when they can introduce. Maybe know some secret.
Ooh.
It's a difficult question.
That is a difficult question. Maybe go online.
Online?
Maybe online.
Yeah.
Or maybe she can work with him. It's my idea now. Because many because many women ask how I can have friends or my man rich if I have not friends.
Surrounding. You don't have surrounding
yes.
people who are rich. I mean, like well off or businessmen.
I know what you're trying to say, but it takes a while to come up to that kind of society with the rich people, because you know that poor people and rich people, they usually don't communicate or meet together, right?
Most it's a big gap. Yeah.
Yes, there is a gap. So you have to find if a woman is poor, she just have to do her research. Where does all the rich people go, right? And then start there. So at least you can, because rich people, I mean, they eat in certain restaurants, or they go to certain places, or they go to certain seminars, and they're a little bit everywhere, right? So you have to socialize with these people and find out what they do. Because like I said, if you want to be successful, you have to study successful people. And successful people, if you study most of them, you will see that they all think the same way. They all like the same kind of hobbies. They all use the same kind of progresses and steps to get success. So study that first, and then it's much more easier to meet these kind of people, because you have something to talk about, right?
Yes.
So study, it's what I believe is very important to do.
I see you have very good clock.
Watch.
Thank you.
Watch, thank you so much. It's Rolex.
Yes.
It's expensive.
Yes.
And how you feeling when you understood that or when you understand when some people see your expensive things and they think or say, oh, he has this very expensive thing, and in this time some people died because they have not money for lunch, for breakfast, for dinner.
Do you feel guilty?
That's a good question, but they also they don't know me, or they don't know the other person. The other person that might have all these things, they actually might be good people that actually help other people that don't have anything, right? So for me, the first rule is also when you make money and you are successful and you have a good income, always give back. Always give back to people that don't have anything. I really believe in that.
Yes.
One of my biggest chapters in my book is the law of vibrational giving, right?
Yes.
And always give to people that don't have anything, but never ever expect something back. That's one of the most important factors also, because we live in a world that as soon as you help someone, you think that that person owes you something, or they need to do something for you or whatever. But give freely without even thinking about getting something back. That's not your job. It's the universe's job to give you back something in some kind of way, right?
And I remember when you ask your friends money, he gave book.
Yes.
He didn't give money for you.
No.
And this watch you buy for your money, not for money friend.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can you tell about your hobbies, maybe a little
Yes,
bit?
hobbies, it's very interesting.
For what do you have time?
My biggest hobbies that I really love is to be in nature. I love to climb mountains, so every year I climb about 2 mountains a year. I'm going now in May to base camp to Everest.
Really?
Yes,
Super.
and
Cool.
that's gonna be really
Yes.
cool. And last year I climbed Kilimanjaro, Africa's highest mountain there. So that's one of my biggest passions, is to climb mountains all over the world. And 3 years ago I climbed an active volcano in Indonesia. So this is something I really like, because that's the few moments that I can't use a phone, I can't use a fax, I can't use email. I'm disconnected from the world, and that's where I get my energy back.
Detox. You have
Detox.
detox.
Exactly, detox, and get your energy back, because I believe that we live in a modern world and we have lost connection with nature.
Yes.
And nature is very powerful. And if you can connect with nature, it gives you that kind of energy that it's hard to explain. But when you are up there alone, far away from civilization, with a couple of friends out in nature, and you're doing this, many of my biggest ideas to new hotels or resorts that I have built, I actually got those ideas when I've been up in mountains and doing adventures. So the biggest hobby is you're doing that.
Okay.
Super.
Okay. I thank you.